I'm calling to order the October 7th, 2025 Concord Transportation Advisory Committee meeting. I'll start with roll call. Rebecca,
Here.
Nick,
Here.
Ellen,
Sorry, here.
Here.
okay, and myself, Mark Galis. Phil may be joining us later. First item on the agenda is to approve minutes, and also in terms of who's taking minutes, I think Ellen did twice in recent memory, and I don't know if Mariana, you would volunteer
Happy
to
to.
do minutes today, that would be much appreciated. Excellent. Okay, let me bring up the minutes. Ellen sent them to me, and I just made a couple little grammatical corrections, and I filled in Betsy's full name, who had made a public comment, because it maybe wasn't easy from the recording. Did anyone else have any corrections or additions to the minutes?
No.
Rebecca? Ellen? Okay, so I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move the minutes be approved as written, as amended.
Okay, and second?
Second.
Okay, Nick,
Aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
Yes,
Yes.
Mariana,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
myself, I too, okay. So the next item is Chair's report. I think most of what I would put in the Chair's report is going to be dealt with in terms of some updates on progress with Stantec and coordination between Public Works, TAC, and Select Board and town departments. Phil Posner, who said he might be here at the very beginning, but I have to leave, gave me some updates he wanted me to pass on. So one of them is that Safe Routes to School program, Bike to School days are this Wednesday for Thoreau, Thursday for Alcon, and Friday for Concord Middle School. And then again next Wednesday for Willard. Everyone's invited to walk, observe, or walk or ride with kids and parents. Select Board and School Committee are been invited, and they're if you look at Bike to School Concord, one word on Facebook, there's details of possible weather postponement. The grant application for Alcott School Safe Routes to School Signs and Lines was submitted by Planning and Public Works, and we'll see if we get something. Also, actually, he also noted that he was at the walk audit at Monument Square that Amy Graney arranged, so that will be interesting to hear results at a future times. Okay, so with no further ado, give the floor to Mimi Graney to present the next item, which is about wayfinding signage project for the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail.
Mark, I'm sorry to interrupt. I thought you were also going to mention the school committee
Okay.
update.
I can do that, yes. Apparently, you remember back in August, we had a presentation, Jeff Alls, on the a connection possibility between the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail and the Concord Middle School.
Mhm.
And the TAC members, our Select Board liaison, Paul Bowen, pointed out that this was something that was on school land, and the school superintendent would have to kind of pilot this in terms of applying for any grants or whatever. But nonetheless, TAC, we took a vote, and generally, and it was unanimous among the members here that we would certainly support any such action by the school. Apparently, at the next school committee meeting, or the subsequent school committee meeting, the chair of the school committee misspoke and said something along the lines of there were letters or a letter from TAC raising concerns. And so I to correct that, I spoke with the chair of the school committee yesterday. In 2 weeks at their next meeting, he will bring that up, and then I will also write a clarification letter that there was no letter expressing concerns from TAC. In fact, there was actually a vote taken in the presence of a proponent of the project that TAC would support the idea of making a connection. Does that sound complete, Rebecca?
I might just add, Mark, that the letter that he was referring to, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I would just add, or I might add that the letter that he was referring to that confused him was actually from you and Tanya. And it was a personal email misrepresented as from TAC. I feel like that's an important point.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, my wife Tanya wrote an email. I added some things on, so it was from both of us with it highlighted as disclosure that I'm member chairing the TAC and that this is personal and, you know, raising some factors that, you know, if there is to be a connection, various factors need to be considered. Because this, as I kind of said at the meeting, I believe in August, I wasn't sure whether this was exactly the right way to make the best connection. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so thank you, Rebecca, for reminding me about that. So let's go to the wayfinding. I don't know, is Heather, are you still on?
Doesn't look like.
Okay, all right.
Can you set it up so I can screen share if you make me a co-host?
Let me see if I can do that. Hold on a second, where's the Zoom? Why is it not coming up?
Go to participants.
Maybe right here.
Oh, yeah, thank you very much.
So,
Yep.
What's in your set there?
Okay, there's a little extra thing here.
Yeah, but like, I think are you on, maybe you have to put this one. Make
Make
a
co-host.
co-host.
Okay, I will make you a co-host.
Okay.
Confirm. Okay, great. Now you should be able to do it. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
very much.
So much for having me. I was tasked with working on some wayfinding signage for the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. The Planning Community Development Office had received some funding from the Community Preservation Act grant for sort of big, kind of the overall work on the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. There's a little bit of funding remaining that was designated for wayfinding. So I am working on following through on that. Right now, I'm kind of got a basic proposal that I'm shopping around to different entities in town to get their feedback on. And there's gonna be sort of 2 waves of feedback. This first wave is just kind of introducing people to what the effort is. The spots along the trail that we want to highlight for wayfinding, the types of signs that are kind of defined, and where they could be placed. And then the next round will actually be digging into what are the content on the signs. That's where we're at. So of that CPA funding right now, just a little under 17,000 is available. And our project scope is limited to this approved branded signage that was already agreed to of the different communities along the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail that helps kind of have people recognize quickly that they're on a trail. Folks have probably seen a lot of this all in Acton so far. You can actually see it on this screen there on the right with the little dragonfly. And the CPA funding has been kind of sitting in the account for a long time, and we need to have it spent by August 26th to kind of close it up. So folks probably know that this is a 25-mile multi-town trail. The portion in Concord is about 3 3/4 miles. And it's serving both recreation and transportation goals, so helping people go from A to B and just for the fun of going back and forth. So what I did was I did a first pass and went and looked at all the existing signage along the trail. And right now, there's a lot of signage that define what the rules are, what you can't do, and highlighting some of the, crossings. And there's actually a number of kiosks already providing information, letting people know about the Aspet River Bluff Trail, about the other trails. There's, one about some of the artifacts left over from the railway that's on the left. There was like an old signal piece. There's one about, one of the vernal pools. So those are really wonderful information gathering, and there's some, kind of larger kiosks too. There's one in, West Concord Village, just on the other side of Main Street. And so these are really helpful, but the gap that we've got is kind of wayfinding to let people know how far. So some of those kiosks are really far apart, and especially if you're coming from the two ends of crossing the town borders. It doesn't tell people easily where the restrooms are, where the business, areas are, how far to like where they might have parked, etc. So this is the suite of signage that's already been pre-approved, so, we're not able to like throw open everything. These are the set of signs that are available to us. And our budget is very limited, so this very large kiosk sign in the middle is kind of beyond. Basically, we could get one sign, maybe two. The one on the far right that just has the dragonfly doesn't actually add anything. It's another branded thing, so I took those two off the table.
Here,
So that left us with 3 signs, and kind of sign number 2 or B, that has sort of directional, is very similar to the dragonfly with the, that's second from the right, that has directional. So my proposal was to kind of do, you can see my cursor, is to do the first one and the 4th one. So I'll kind of walk you through from here. So I've got a set of maps here. So this is the extent of the trail, as folks know, in West Concord, basically from the Acton line to the Sudbury line. And I sort of looked at what are some of the key, are you able to get rid of the little cursor that says this meeting is being recorded, Mark, on your end? So you can see the whole thing.
You have to click it. I don't have
It
that.
doesn't show up on mine. It might be
Yeah,
left over from.
I don't think you can get rid of it.
You hit
anyway,
if you, it does if you hit okay,
Oh,
but.
But it's
you
not.
have to do that on that.
Yeah, just hit OK in the upper right.
On that computer.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe it's that.
There you go.
Jordan knows how to do it.
There we go, teamwork.
I did it.
Thank you.
Wow, okay.
Thank you.
All right, so the kind of key points that I sort of looked at was Narrow Park in Acton, even though it's kind of outside of our district, that's a place where there's a lot of concerts, playgrounds, swimming, kind of that could be a key destination folks would go to. And then in the south would be the connection with the Mass Central Rail Trail, which ideally that's kind of part of the overall network. And then the 2 spots, then the Davis Field in Sudbury is another kind of big destination with lots of parking. And the West Concord Village, the MBTA. So do folks kind of see that those are kind of the main transit connections that we'd want to highlight?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That sounds
Yeah.
good. Sounds good.
So those are like destinations, you said.
well, those are, I'm sort of looking at layers of things that we might want to highlight. So if we're thinking of like transit connections, these would be the 4 transit connections.
Right, and this is the kind of macro destinations. They're
Perfect. Casey, you said Narrow Park was the place people did things. I didn't get that that's transit.
They also have a big parking lot. Each park.
Ah, okay.
And it's kind of another spot for people to park and drive,
Okay.
Yeah.
or park and bike.
Is there a parking symbol that might go next to some things with
So
permission or?
And moving into content is part 2. Right
Yes,
now, we're
yes.
just sort of like, what do we
Okay.
wanna look at?
Did you consider any other ones? than those At
Destination?
the high level? Or is
Of other
that-
transit destinations?
Yeah, I mean, this looks
So-
good to me, but I'm just wonder if you had more and then you boiled it down.
The other one is Giroux, but then I kind of have I'm looking at, the next one is sort of looking at amenities,
Mhm.
which would be restrooms, food,
Right.
and sort of, now I'm digging in a little bit of
Right.
like stuff within the Concord area,
Mhm.
which would be Giroux, and again, West Concord Village.
Mhm. Mhm.
We don't have other restrooms along the stretch on Concord.
What
I
are
don't
the,
believe so.
what are the restrooms in West Concord that users are directed to?
So we're not necessarily, again, that's content, but a lot of the businesses have public,
Oh,
have
that's-
restrooms that are open to the public.
Cool.
They don't necessarily advertise them, but like Tea Cakes, Deborah's, they all have restrooms that are, people can just breeze into.
Okay.
Mhm.
Then the next one is sort of points of interest, kind of recreation. So these would be trails, other things to do, be Giroux. Again, in West Concord Village, the ride out and the boat launch. Again, probably people on the trail aren't really launching their boats.
No.
The Assabet Bluff, the Old Rifle Range and White Pond. And some of the feedback I've gotten so far is maybe folks don't want us to highlight White Pond
Mhm.
because there's been some concerns about people swimming there. We don't want people to swim there. There are trails there. That's kind of the one controversial one that people have brought
Yeah,
up.
there are some of these, there are trails that are not. It's a question whether bicycles are allowed or whether bicycles are encouraged, so that's another factor that might need to be.
Wasn't White Pond residents only? Or is it open to? the
No,
public?
it's open to the public,
Oh, it is
the
open.
trails and the,
Yeah.
and, the
So for all of
the pond
these-
swimming has limitations. You have
Yeah.
to get a ticket, it's supposed to.
In terms of like the points of interest, it's not necessarily saying you should go and bike here. It's, you
Right,
know,
absolutely.
knowing this is multimodal, a lot of people might be walking to.
Right, but in some of these places, there would be either existing bike racks or should be bike racks to encourage people to load their bike and then walk.
Yeah, White Pond is one that has got racks for sure.
Right.
Are there other points of interest that I should highlight? I didn't include. This on the other landmarks, I've got Neshoba Brook, Assabet Bluff, and both of those have got signage already. The Garrison Building, the middle school, and Dukin Brook.
What, Barrel Farm?
Sorry,
What about Barrel Farm? I think that
where's
doesn't-
Barrel Farm on
Middle
the
Farm.
map?
See, it's
On
on
the
your,
bottom.
but it's
Oh,
not far from
I don't know if you can
too far.
practically get there, yeah. And one of the things that you could kind of,
It's not obvious how to find it once.
One
you get
Yeah.
on the trail.
Seems like the kind of place that.
There might be an opportunity later to have
Very.
businesses, have an opportunity to
Yeah, get
provide
one to
funding
sponsor some
or
White
something
Pond.
to sponsor some.
That seems more appropriate,
Yeah.
yeah.
there is
No, they
the
have events and stuff.
there is the Powder Mill Road connection. That's got a lot of signage, but it doesn't kind of highlight what things off of that are. I have put in a proposal to the town manager to pay for a mural in that underpass because
Oh, cool.
right now there's a lot of graffiti. Public Works is having to go and repaint it, but that's a different scope of work. Did you say something, Ellen?
No, I'm just saying that, I think, no, it's just coming. I think this is a great initiative and it makes things a lot easier to really be able to enjoy the trail.
All right, so the two types of signs I'm proposing are these two, the far one on the left
Mhm.
and number 4. I am gonna be chatting a little more deeply and I'll talk to Phil about, I heard one person have concerns about this one here with the, that's got the directionals about the placements of those sometimes apparently has been tricky for cyclists, cause it has to be, make sure it's placed high enough so it's not hitting people's heads or pushed enough off the trail. So I'll investigate that a little further.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that too, that structurally is a little more complicated and higher. Cyclists are a little more apt to look straight forward or down, not up.
Or to the right.
And the second design there, which is, pointed out, is kind of equivalent to that. Maybe it's a little boring to have 1 and 2, but 2 maybe gives a little bit more opportunity to have additional information, whatever, but I'm not hard
So
on
that-
it, but the fourth one there, I think there are some questions that.
An interesting question about placement, because if you're on the path going forward, is the sign perpendicular to you or is it
Yeah.
facing you? And that's a huge difference. And as you point out, if you're a cyclist, your attention's ahead.
Right,
It's not look to the right,
Right.
because it's kind of dangerous.
both the second and, I mean, the fourth, if you alert yourself to the pattern there clearly indicates which way, which is a good thing. And the second does with the arrows, but it's a little less clear.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not trying to.
One of the things that happened at Junction Park, it actually on the 4th one, often the signs is, I think, Nick was saying, we're too high. And the first and second might be better at eye level because the cyclist, I mean, they were called sometimes giraffe signs, and there were so many in Junction Park that it was confusing. But it might be worthwhile asking, just confirming with cyclists where they're looking. If the first two would be better in terms of a line of getting attention of cyclists and pedestrians probably. I don't know. I think one or two would be better, but if two is really expensive, I understand the concern.
So another comment on the second one from the right. If the dragonfly were perpendicular to the other signs that are pointing to things, so that if you're going down the path, you see the dragonfly, and that's an indication that there's a post and there's stuff on it. But the signs are parallel to the path. I mean, the directional signs are parallel to the path. Then I think it makes more sense.
Well,
I don't know if that branding allows that.
well, on number 4, you could potentially ask if it's okay to turn the dragonfly. So that the
Number 4?
on number 4, the dragonfly, we're
I'm sorry, I
looking
don't
at
know
it,
which one is
The
number
fourth one
4.
over
the
the.
fourth one from the
Why
left.
are we turning the dragonfly?
Nick was just saying that if you're, well, I don't know if the dragonfly is two-sided, that's another question. The idea would be that, instead of having a cyclist look sideways, they could face it as they run.
Well, they would the dragonfly would be facing the cyclist on the path,
Mhm.
but the signs saying things would be at 90 degrees to that or parallel to the path. So that the dragonfly gets your attention and says, there's a sign here. And then as you're going by, you know to look to
see.
the right or left to read the sign.
I'm wondering out loud, if I'm a cyclist and I'm going that fast, I know where I'm going. If I need the sign,
Right.
you're gonna hopefully slow down and look,
Hopefully, yeah.
right? Cause you would need to see at a location to know.
But to know that there's a sign there, you wouldn't know that there's a sign there if the dragonfly and the directional things are parallel to the road, right? You're just gonna see the edge.
Lately.
Yeah, you just see the edge. You wouldn't know what was there.
Could signs 1 and 2 be double sided, or would those be parallel or perpendicular?
They're single sided.
Mhm.
The one thing about number 4, I know we're not kind of clear what number 4 is, this one here, is I need to check with the manufacturer. I believe that the part of why I liked this one is that we might be able to change out the blades.
Mhm.
And assuming like later on, we might have additional ones, we maybe could have more than 4.
Right, that's a good.
Oh,
Which
I
would
see.
give you some flexibility, and it's also helpful if there's an intersection where it's not perfectly
Aligned,
two-dimensional,
aligned, yeah.
so that it might have some, a
No,
little more
those
nuance.
are good points.
But
Okay,
it's helpful hearing some of the factors in
Yeah,
terms
yeah,
of
and
visibility and.
Another thing you could do with the blades is instead of having them be in this collinear, is just tilt them a little bit. So that they're, it's clear which direction they're pointing, but they're visible as you approach them.
Yeah.
You
it's, the posts are always black.
wouldn't think this would be that complicated.
The posts are always black.
I have to double check on the sign, the style. I don't know if they're black. I thought I saw some different colors in Acton, so I need to check on that.
Another thing would be, depending where they are, how close to the path. To me, putting a reflector at about waist height on any post that's near
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, you don't want somebody not seeing the sign and hitting the post and
No, like
and Don and
reflective
Dustin.
tape.
I don't know, it just, again, visibility, safety.
We wouldn't be on the trail, you're
No,
talking to be off the. trail,
Yeah, but
right?
sometimes, suppose at dusk, somebody's cycling and there's a few pedestrians, they
I'm
decide
gonna
to
read
kind of go,
Yeah, the-
go around.
The trail
You,
is.
I
That would-
just say,
That would hurt.
yeah, things to think of in terms of.
It's a statistics thing. If a million people use the trail in 2 years, someone will hit the post.
Yeah, it's just if it's possible that somebody might miss it and interact with it. That might be a good thing to think about. Okay, that's so.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
we're
let's
ready
move
to
along.
move on?
Yes, thank you.
Can I make a quick comment before we go?
Who is this?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This is Phil
Oh,
Posner
this is-
calling.
Oh, Phil, okay, your voice is coming through a little differently. Yes,
I'm
go ahead.
coming
Please.
out of Zoom. Sorry, I can't do the video. I had a question for Heather. Heather, have you spoken with the town of Acton with regard to how they paid for the signs up there?
I don't know if Heather's still on the line, but
So,
we.
I think
Okay.
you need
Maybe you,
help.
maybe.
Mimi?
We've already got funds designated. I'm not sure if you caught the beginning of this. There's designated funds from
Yes,
CPA funding.
Right. And so the reason for the question is that I believe that the municipal funds were supplemented by funds from the Friends of the Bruce Freeman, for some of the wayfinding signs. So that might supplement your budget. I don't know that for a fact, but I was under that impression. So that might be worth making an inquiry.
That happened in Acton?
So I believe that happened in Acton and in Chelmsford and Westford as well. So I don't know that for a fact, but I think it would be at least worth making an inquiry, because that might provide you with some more budget to do what you'd like to do.
All right, well, let me wait till we get to the budget section, because that is an issue. So.
Okay. Sorry, I'm gonna mute myself again. Sorry about that, but I am
Thank you.
listening in.
Thank you.
So with those destinations that we talked about in mind, on this map here, the yellow markers show the existing signs. So those were some of those ones that I sort of talked about, like the safety signs, the kiosks, the trailheads. The red markers are the new signs that I'm proposing. So I wanted, part of my goal was like, we want to have them like along the whole stretch of the trail. We don't necessarily want to completely duplicate what's already there. We want to make sure that, they're kind of synergistic. So I'm proposing 3 of this kind of small kiosk sign. So these are set up in such a way so that you can change out the content. And I'd be sort of looking at how we could do that with like a vinyl film or something that's a little more weatherproof. In Acton, I've been noticing that they use paper under glass, which has been a little problematic. So I'm pricing out what that would look like. And I'm proposing.
Having it upgrade, having it updatable is obviously helpful though.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm proposing 3 of these. So one at Giroux Park that would kind of help orient people, recognizing some people might be showing up at Giroux. That's kind of a natural resting spot if you want to spend a little more time. The other one is at the Old Rifle Range, which is another spot that is kind of a major intersection. People might be coming in from the walking trails. It's got a little more of a gathering place to be. And especially if folks aren't comfortable with us highlighting White Pond down that end, it felt like kind of at least down that end of the trail. And the other one is at Neshoba Brook that would highlight West Concord Village. There is already a kiosk on the other side of Main Street.
Yes.
And folks, there's already a lot of things already happening in Junction Park, so I thought kind of people that might be kind of either getting off the MBTA and heading that direction. It felt like a way of hitting and serving those people, and it's another spot where it's kind of a little bit of a gathering spot. That's where the bike share is, etc.
If just a thought, if the Neshoba Brook location with a sign that has, possibility to have a map or a little more information, is like a gateway into the denser West Concord center, there's an opportunity to indicate the actual path of the trail as opposed to the various cut-throughs that people use, because it's pretty unclear otherwise when you come to that parking lot and the controlled train track crossing.
Yeah.
A lot of people just turn left and then cross the track somewhere else, et cetera. So anyway, it is definitely a prime wayfinding location, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's the one where wayfinding is kind of most complicated. I think
Yes.
people sort of figuring out how it's connected. It
Yes.
does, in some
Yeah.
ways, the natural thing is to put you onto into the parking lot. So how to solve that
Yeah.
within this branding.
It might, I mean, this hasn't been discussed, but the notion of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail was it was a multi-use trail. However, the bit of trail that loops around the old railway station is not really wide enough for bikes and pedestrians. So one could say that's bikes exclusive and make signage that says that. I mean, this is a bigger item, but I think that's the prime opportunity for important wayfinding for
I
people.
don't think it's in the
coming in.
scope of what Mimi's trying to do, but.
Yes,
But it seems to me if I were approaching the thing, given how complicated it is there,
mhm,
the thing that would be clearest is to actually paint the pavement. So that it's, like green
Mhm.
pavement following where I'm supposed to go, then it's clear and unambiguous, right?
but it sounds like a public, partly
Public-
a
like
public
work.
works thing, although it is MBTA property, a lot of it, so it's very
Well, whatever. but
complex, but yeah, no,
I
no,
don't think anything else is gonna work.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing that could work.
Well, I think you're right, it's a little beyond my scope, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
something I
no,
have
no,
in
no, no,
mind.
but these connections are, it's good to bring these up.
Alright,
For the
so-
old rifle range, I would just raise the question that, it'd be good to inform the Trails Committee,
That's conservation land and.
Yeah, about whether they would want some, if there's a sign at Old Rifle Range for the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, whether they would wanna have,
Say that it's conservation.
they
land.
want to, if they wanted to add any information.
So the signs I'm proposing are all kind of within the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail area.
Mhm.
The trailhead for Old Rifle Range is on the other side of the road, which you can see, but you kind of have to know to look for it.
And there's no crosswalk.
Probably not. Anyway, but
You're
I
just
guess,
bringing up an issue that's like the White Pond issue, which is that there may be some rules about usage that need to be.
well, here you're identifying location as Old Rifle Range. If the sign says Old Rifle Range, that's different than that you just pick this location because it's an important, milestone wayfinding.
Yeah, and then we dig in a little bit of like what's gonna be on
Yeah,
the sign.
yeah.
And right now, the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail folks are putting a bench at that area, so it's already kind of like a little
Okay.
gathering spot developing. All right, so the next one is for a set of these directional ones that tell you how far the different destinations are.
Mhm.
And I'm proposing 5 of these ones. So one is at Powder Mill Road, which actually doesn't correspond exactly to where the little star is, it's actually further up. Recognizing that there's some really good pathways down from the road onto the trail, and that would help orient people to know they're north from south there.
Mhm.
I included the Garrison Building, while I know that there's not a,
Official
right now,
trail.
an official path there. It's maybe, one that people might be unofficially accessing and just.
Because of the athletic fields for one thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The other one's at Old Marlborough Road, just to help orient people. One at Junction Park, which would just be one of the directional ones, recognizing people that aren't familiar with the area, and then one at Town Line from Acton, which right now doesn't have any signage at all.
So these would be pointing along the trail, telling you what's coming next somewhere and how far away it is,
Yeah,
as
so
opposed to things off the trail.
again, not sure about the content. It was just at these 5 spots, they would get one of those signs, and then we'll figure out what it's gonna say.
So when you get to the place indicated, is there an indication that you're there?
Powder Mill
Or you
Road
have
has
to
a
count
sign that says it.
miles?
Old Marlborough Road, I don't know if it actually tells you it's Old Marlborough Road, but it's very clearly an intersection. Junction Park has got a sign, and at Acton Town Line, there's a sign that lets you know that you're crossing the town.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, because let's say I get to a place and this is the place I should get off the trail because I want to go to the Sugar Bakery or something. There should be some indication, that if you're there, get off now, head that way.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know what those milestones are, what those places are, but that was just a random one, but.
well, that goes back to the question of like, what are the things that we're wanting to highlight in
Right.
terms of the destinations?
Yeah, and are they just points on the trail, or are they things off the trail I might actually want to go see and play at?
Some of those informational signs already on the trail do highlight that. So there's one for White Pond, there's one for Showbro, there's one, for some of the trails and the waterways. Do folks feel like having 5 of these signs is sufficient? Too many?
How do those, where do they fall in the budget? So
Well,
17K.
Here's our budget.
Oh, sorry.
So basically it comes to $24,000. And I presently only have less than 17. So it's good to hear that potentially the Friends of Bruce Freeman Rail Trail might be able to help. There's a little bit of funding that I have access to that's ARPA funds for arts and culture, which isn't enough to make this all up. A lot of the ARPA money has to be spent by the end of next calendar year, so I've included this is in the request to the town manager for a bunch of amenities. So, 7,000 isn't like gonna
Yeah.
break the town budget, so I'm hopeful we can scrounge it up. But it does kind of show like this is, even just this modest number of signs, it's
Yeah.
kind of ambitious.
Can you go back one slide, please? To me, at the high level, it's very useful to have a sign at the Concord Acton town line. It's important, for instance, if somebody has to call the police or something like that, that they know what town they're in on the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail.
Hmm.
And who, maybe what town website to search for a pizza shop or something, because they sort of know where they are. I'm not sure how obvious it is right now, but I think that's a good thing. So I would say having one at the Sudbury line, which maybe Sudbury wants to do or whatever, it doesn't have to be us. I don't know what exists there. The Garrison Building sign, I'm concerned that, there is a crossing of Old Marlborough Road, and down Old Marlborough Road is the middle school. But I do think that, we might be biting off more than we can chew in terms of putting a sign at either location directing people through, down into the playing field or along Old Marlborough Road, which is narrow. Either one, I think, is a little problematic. I would definitely want the school department to have input as to whether and where and what kind of, even just a little thing that says Concord Middle School.
So with this one, it's not to be like you're at the Garrison School, it's to
Just
be
a
more
look.
like West Concord Village is.
That's
1.5
fine,
miles
that,
this
I don't
way.
have any problem with that, I'm
Okay.
just raising the question that if you are telling people how to get to school, that's a bigger question.
Yeah, this isn't the problem you're trying to solve, but.
No,
But
no.
the issue that Mark brought up about knowing what town you're in, I was just thinking, like, if you're driving on the Mass Pike, every town you go into, it tells you, and it's even funny sometimes, because you go into town A, you
Oh,
leave
yeah.
town A, you go back into town A.
Yes,
And the mile markers are also there exactly for the public safety reasons, so that if you have an emergency, you can tell them exactly where you are.
There
And
are signs already there that tell you that you crossed into a new town.
there are,
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
are there signs within the town telling you where you are in
Well,
town?
anyway, no, this is,
Anyway, it's not your issue, but
if you, did
it's
you
a
gather,
transportation issue. that we
did you
should-
gather more, photos and information than you presented on existing signs, or does somebody have that?
Oh,
Because,
I took a ridiculous number of photos, and I still have to, I've got this interactive Google map.
Oh, wonderful.
Which I haven't completely populated with all my photos.
okay,
Some of it's on street view too.
Yeah, so like.
sure.
I'll
But,
put this
but I'm just saying, this would be useful for Public Works and TAG to have
And public safety.
in public safety, yeah,
Yeah, so you,
Mm,
at the
right.
different locations, took pictures of
thank you.
what the areas look like, so.
Great.
Okay.
That's a lot of work, but that's,
Is that just something you see privately, or can we as public see it?
I shared the slideshow, and you can just click on the link in the slideshow.
oh, wonderful, oh, great.
Also, this could be a whole other topic too, but Emerson Hospital might be useful to highlight.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
Getting there from the rail trail is.
yeah, but it's,
Yes, but
it's not bad, it's the old Marlboro Road.
no, the crossing, the Ornac crossing. Is bad. That's the whole other topic, but
Yeah.
wayfinding wise. Point in that direction, yeah.
Right, so not to take too much time in your meeting here, for the, this is the timeline that I'm looking at. So, this month and next month, I'm kind of shopping this around. Once we kind of have basic agreement, which sounds like I haven't heard any deal breakers in this conversation. I think I'm gonna dig down next into the, content, and I'll be shopping it around to everybody too. And then, I'll need formal approvals by the Community Preservation Act Committee, because they need to approve the use of these funds. I need to get approval from Public Works and and then the kind of final step would be for the select board, because this is in the public right of way. And then the goal is to order the signs early spring, and to get them done, in late spring. And, hoping that we can do some kind of celebration in June. Part of my proposal to the, town manager is for a suite of things to highlight the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. And one of them is to replicate a project that they did on the Minuteman Bike Trail, which was sort of a block party. Folks might be familiar, basically they, over like a 5-hour period, they set up lots of like small scale activities along the Minuteman Bike Trail with different towns participating. So the idea was to sort of animate and connect all the different activities.
Cool.
As somebody in my role for,
Especially
economic-
with Sudbury just opening recently, that would be good.
yeah. And part of my goal is also to, how can we better highlight West Concord Village and encourage people to get off
Mhm.
their bike and come in and hang around there and
Sure.
kind of, it really is like the best.
It's
I'm
a
a little
good
biased, but the
destination.
best commercial district, and it's right there with the trail, like, I would love
Yeah,
that
oh,
to be
yeah,
like
yeah.
the point to come and go. And then also to recognize with the MCI Concord redevelopment, to recognize the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail as a real key transportation
Mhm.
asset.
That's it.
And how can we highlight Giroux as a space for there?
No, it sounds very good. So this presentation is revised, not the one that you sent me. a few
That's
weeks ago.
exactly the one I sent you
It's
yesterday.
exactly, okay, the one you sent yesterday.
Yeah, so I'm continuing to iterate it as I get people's feedback, so
All right,
it's not the definitive forever, you know, I'll have different versions of this as we go along.
Andrea, if who else should this be? Andrea Sullivan is chair of the Public Works Commission, and to send it to the Public Works Commission, who should they send it to? You mean send it?
Yeah, was that
your
planning, planning Public Works Commission, or same as one too, I usually do it as a staff, at a staff level.
Yeah, I was thinking staff level.
Yeah. Good.
I mean, they'll tell you if there's money to come before the commission, probably than that.
I'm hoping it's not gonna be too disruptive.
Great. Any other questions from tech members or
It's great. It does raise a lot of questions about what it's like to be on the trail and safety issues and others.
Yeah, there's probably some long sections right now where somebody might get disoriented.
Maybe we should reach out to the public safety to ask them about what
Well, that's another thing.
what's appropriate on the trail. So people might get in trouble.
Also, what do you dial if you have a
Well, you
problem?
dial 911, but how
I
do you
know,
tell them
but-
where you are?
I know, yeah, how do you tell them where they are? But there may be other things where it's not a 911 matter, but anyway, great. Paul, did you want to add something?
No, great idea. Just one thought, riding with little kids, I did with my grandson, he tends to veer occasionally off the trail. Want to make sure that the placement of the signs is not a safety hazard in itself. And I'm sure you're gonna think that through. And I think, Mimi, you talked with the West Concord Advisory Committee, have you not? I forget. Yeah, okay.
Yes,
So you've gotten their input on sites. That's great. No, terrific idea, very supportive.
Okay, thank you, Mary.
thank you.
Much appreciated.
Okay.
All right. Next item on the agenda, which I will ask Alyssa to fill us in on just what is the latest specifications on timeline of the Stantec strategy work and communication back with tech. I believe that our next latest, I know the next tech meeting on October, which is on October 28th, starts at 9:30, but gonna run for 2 hours so that there's plenty of time to interact for Stantec. Are we still on schedule to do that?
Yeah, so we are still on schedule. I sent an email to everyone, just kind of outlining the different public outreach meetings and events, and I just wanted to take a moment here to just kind of refresh everyone's memory on that and maybe add a little bit more detail, and answer any questions as well. So we are planning the in-person TAC meeting with Stantec on October 28th. Stantec will be here with us from 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. You know, just kind of a really focused workshop of 1.5 hours with Stantec, in person. And really the primary purpose of this workshop is to review with TAC the matrix of solutions, including the identification of needs, the recommended solutions. We are proposing that it is a facilitated kind of interactive workshop. They are going to propose to use a tool called Mentimeter just to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to provide input and kind of facilitate that conversation. And so that is scheduled for October 28th. So I hope it's all on everyone's calendars. Did you have a question?
Is that gonna be, everyone has to be there in person to do it with this
Think we
process
have
and
to.
the thing?
No, you don't all have to be here in person. We'll have the regular setup with the Zoom and everything. So that's
So
fine.
this meter thing is okay.
Yeah. And there may be one Stantec or two staff people that are also gonna be participating online, but at least and we'll have one member of Stantec here. So I think that'll just help to kind of, you know, facilitate. Then we have a public workshops planned for November 19th. So we have two workshops. One will be in the morning. That is scheduled for 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. And that'll be here at 141 Kais, at the first floor conference room. And then we have a evening workshop, which is scheduled from 6 to 8 p.m. And this is a little bit of a change from my email. We had noted in the email was 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., but it is actually 6 to 8 p.m. So we just moved it a little bit earlier. I think just helping people, you know, if they want to have dinner afterwards. I know there are some other meetings scheduled that evening, so it's tough to get the right time where everyone can participate. So we're just hoping having like the morning and evening sessions allows enough people to have, you know, options to go in the morning or the evening, depending on their public meeting schedule.
So a drop-in format.
Yes.
And it's like, for TAC members, it's like do one or both, whichever you can.
You can do one or both, and it is drop-in
Mm.
style, so if you can only go an hour, you know, do
Oh.
that, so.
Mhm.
Okay,
Any questions?
And this is not a Zoom thing, it's an in-person.
It's in person,
in
exactly.
person. And
The evening ones at Harvey Wheeler, correct?
The evening one's at Harvey Wheeler,
Okay,
correct.
thanks.
Yep, the Harvey Wheeler. The meeting room, the
Right,
large
thanks.
meeting room, yeah,
okay, and
and
I will probably post those also as tag meetings in case we end up with all the tag members at one of them and we told people want to ask questions.
yeah, so this will be really an opportunity for, they'll have boards, interactive activities. It'll be really an opportunity for residents, board members to come in, give feedback, see what the kind of solutions are, help to provide some more feedback, recommendations. So just really gonna be highly interactive. I know it's been a long time since the last public workshop, you know, that was held in 2023. So I think this is really important, just kind of refresh everyone's, you know, where we are now. We have updated existing conditions. Stantec has been doing a lot of work, updating some data where they can, from 2023, updating it for current, data. I know they updated the crash data, and some different other data points just to reflect where we currently are. So I think that'll be really helpful, just kind of getting everyone on the same page and giving that, point of, contact with the study for various, residents, boards and committee members. So, that is scheduled for, Oh, yes, and then we also have an online workshop, so that is gonna be basically an online version of the interactive public workshops. And there's gonna be a website, and this will be open, let's see, from November 19th through December 10th. And so the online workshop will be open for a 3-week period, and this will really allow individuals to kind of review the details at their leisure, have another opportunity to provide feedback. And knowing that some members can't go to the in-person workshops, just giving, additional opportunities to provide that feedback. So that there's gonna be project information, a QR code that will be posted online on the online workshop when that's available. So that's kind of giving an overview of current events planned for the transportation strategy.
Thank you
So,
very much.
yep.
Just going back quick to the Stantec coming to the tech meeting on the October 28th. Will we be able to get any kind of document at least a couple days before that to
I
look
think you
at?
said a week
Kind of
before
heads
is the
up.
goal. right?
Well, we've had a conversation and it's time,
So,
it's time.
I think I might have overpromised a little bit on that, I'm sorry. So, cause they just started
Sure.
their work in September, and we are aiming to get something for you to review before.
Okay,
It may not have all the recommendations in detail, but definitely at least hoping like the identification of needs and some existing conditions data for you to review a few days before.
yeah, I think it would help us be productive on the.
Yeah,
28th if we
yeah,
get
just,
at least an introduction to that. Some of
so,
that.
yeah, it's just,
Thank you.
it's hard with the timing and
Of
all
course.
the work that they have to do and
Yep.
kind of a compressed period of time,
It's
but.
important to do it right, but that would be helpful. So the next item, by the way, any questions?
Just one question
Go
about
ahead.
the timing on the evening of the 19th. Could you just say that time again?
Sure, it's 6 to 8 PM.
Okay.
In
Harvey
at
Wheeler.
the Harvey Wheeler.
Okay.
Okay, Paul, do you have any questions or comments on that? Any other tech members?
Oh, I'm fine. Thanks.
Okay. Kristen, I'll recognize you just for a minute. We have more
So-
things to get. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to see what the morning time for the November 19th workshop was.
7:30 to 9 AM, first floor Kais Road, 141.
Thank you so much. That's all. Thank
Yep,
you.
You're very welcome. Thanks. Okay, the next item should be very short. Update on planned future joint meeting of Public Works Commission, TAC and Select Board. Basically, my question is, do we have the date and time pinned down, or is that still, is it an 80% or 100%?
So it's not completely confirmed, but we are looking at October 28th
Mm.
from 4 PM to 5:30 PM.
Mhm.
And this is, just to refresh everyone's memory, this is the Road and Safety Initiatives meeting. That is the joint meeting with Public Works Commission, TAC, and the Select Board. And this is to help to define a new process for tracking residents' concerns and complaints on traffic and safety improvements. So at this meeting, we'll be covering a system for tracking the complaints that come in, the concerns that come in from residents. And also covering a method of prioritization, particularly with regard to the safety improvements and requests that come in. So, it's gonna be an important meeting. We have been working hard with public work staff, planning staff, police, everyone has been involved, and we've been working with chairs of TAC, select board member, and Public Works Commission. So we are moving full steam ahead for this, so,
Great.
yes.
So the date, yeah,
This is tentatively scheduled for October 28th from 4 to 5:30 PM.
and do we not know potential location or none?
Is Harvey Wheeler,
Well, they're
Harvey Wheeler?
gonna, it's all tentative.
No, it's all tentative, but it will be announced as a select board meeting, a public works commission meeting and a TAC meeting, so. You know, there will be notice to the public and a public meeting.
Yeah,
And just,
it was announced last night, Mark. You say tentatively, and I appreciate that. Mark announced it. Mark announced that that would happen on the 28th at last night's meeting.
Okay,
that's
okay.
confirmed.
okay, so we will keep our eyes on that and look forward to that.
I should say they
Cool.
will, I think I heard, they just wanted to make sure Harvey Wheeler worked out. I
Yes.
mean, so, but anyway.
Yeah, no, there's always a possibility of adjustments, but it's good for people to save the date because that's the most likely time, and that'll be a busy day for TAC because we have the morning meeting and then we'll have that meeting. Okay, the next item is to go over this written statement of TAC mission and functions, which Rebecca gave us a first draft. Nick has volunteered some edits and updates, and if you want to share the screen to bring up Rebecca's document with your suggestions related to that, let's discuss that. And I'm hoping people can stay till 11. Is that okay do we still have a quorum? Does anybody else need to leave?
See, I'm on the share, haven't done it in this way before, so if I say share, oh, okay, here we go.
Mark, I'm so sorry. This is Rebecca. Can you hear me?
Yes, Rebecca, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I wanted to say that there's an echo. I'm sorry.
Does somebody have their microphone on here? Anyway, we can hear you fine.
Okay, I can hear the echo, but I'll talk through it.
Yeah, just talk slowly.
My video was freezing, so I switched to my phone.
Oh,
I wanted to say that October 28th,
mhm.
the joint meeting is a conflict with Phil and I going to Boston for a moving together conference that the town is paying for.
All right, that's the TAC morning meeting?
The joint meeting that was just mentioned, I thought was set for October 28th. And Phil and I are gone that entire day.
Okay, well, there are a couple of things that we could do. One thing is, might be possible to arrange that you get a update from staff before that date of what is kind of going to be presented. Or, you know, we'll figure some way to include you in the latest information. I don't think that, and of course, that'll be a recorded meeting that you can watch later. I don't imagine that TAC is going to do all the talking. So we'll do what we can to do that. But I think the actual date and the timing has been a matter of a lot of thought and negotiation. I doubt it can be changed. But we can do our best to make sure there's no, you know, if you have inputs, we can convey them. And if you need information, heads up on what's in the works, we can talk about that. In fact, I don't know if we'll have time at the TAC meeting in the morning. Well, that actually, you wouldn't be there for that either, but we'll find a way to mitigate that problem.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting us know. And if you have more questions or thoughts, just send them to me. You know, or suggestions about what to do about it. Thanks, Rebecca. Okay, can people see?
I can see it if we can, yeah, there it is.
Okay, is it big enough?
Do you want me to start talking?
Yeah, there's a little slider at the bottom right that you might, it's usually touchy, but you might be able to increase the size a little bit. Okay,
Is that better?
that's much better.
Yeah,
much better.
good, thanks.
Okay, so I looked over what you did, Rebecca, and thought about it and realized that one of the things I thought was important was to be specific, to have this, use this as an opportunity to be specific about the scope of what TAC does or might do, so that the select board and TAC can decide, nah, we don't do that, or yeah, we do that. We should write that down and make sure that it's understood what it is. So I took your document and I added a bunch of stuff to clarify or to define things that weren't mentioned. And I did a little bit of striking out, mostly because when I did that stylistically, there were redundancies. I just wanted to remove the redundancies. But anyway, so that was the motivation behind my doing this. So the first part where there are no changes is what you had. And then the changes start. So one thing I added was that we don't just advise the select board, we're also a resource to town committees and town staff in the area that we're responsible for. So that's why that first yellow thing is there. So TAC is the main public facing entity communicating on, I struck multimodal because it's not defined, but I use the term modes below. Is the main public facing entity communicating on transportation safety and improvement projects. It interfaces with Concord residents and advises the select board, town staff, and town committees on a wide variety of transportation and mobility issues. And then below, just to be clear what they are. So I struck out the next thing just because it's covered above. And then the specifics, prioritizing transportation improvement projects. And we can argue these. I'm just going to go through them and then we can say, yeah, we do or don't do that. Prioritizing transportation improvement projects, advising on the relationships and trade-offs among the transportation modes, motor vehicles, bicycles, pedestrians, rail, public transit, advising on development of transportation infrastructure, roads, parking, trails, advising on policies affecting transportation, zoning, historic preservation, school transportation, and then there are dots there to indicate there might be other areas, and developing public transportation options that serve the needs of residents, businesses, and visitors. So I just added that bit about who we're serving. And supporting critical transportation infrastructure such as roads and sidewalks. And I did have a little question note to us, is this already covered above? So there might be some redundancy there. Establishing guidelines that clarify when a roadway situation is clearly unsafe or sufficiently safe. Now I put this in because this issue of safety keeps coming up and I keep being very nervous about it because there are no criteria for what's safe. It's largely, I fear, a perceptual issue. So I think maybe what TAC needs to do is help the town figure out, what is a clearly unsafe or a clearly safe, sufficiently safe condition. I think that's where the discussion needs to take place, and that's where TAC's role should be. And the next one, improving bike and pedestrian safety and connections. Separate issues. Oh yeah, so I wasn't sure exactly how to put this in. It was something that was already there, and I wasn't sure if it was separate from the stuff that's mentioned above. And finally, promoting low carbon mobility choices. And the long-term goal of TAC is a transportation system that is overall more efficient, safer, and more convenient for the town, the residents, and visitors. So.
Okay, thanks, Nick.
Comments?
Okay, comments from TAC members. Mariana, are you?
Great work on that. You make some good distinctions. About some of those details and it's an improvement, yeah.
Thank you. Ellen?
So yeah, I really like the detail a lot. I was looking through our charge and sort of activities that I think that we do, and I was pleased to see somewhere in here it talks about businesses, which I think is a key. Talk about economic vitality. I forget, somewhere in here, Nick, you mentioned businesses as a stakeholder, and I think that's important. One thing that I wonder if we can add in, because it's in the chart, and I think it's something we've talked a lot about, is it says explore ways to benefit from neighboring communities. So the idea of regional transport might be something that could be added in, because I think we don't end at our town borders. We've talked a lot about, and I forget what they're called, the various regional transportation systems that we could take advantage of. Obviously the MBTA is one.
That sounds like a good
That's a
idea.
good- yeah, I-
And I really, so thank you, Nick, for making this. I like the idea of making it tangible, because I think that that's what residents look for. They're looking for bullets that they can understand. Okay, I can talk to TAC about this. That's their job, or that's what that's what their role is.
Okay, I'd like to think about that regional one. I agree, that's missing. I
Okay.
completely overlooked it. And let me take a shot at figuring
Okay.
out how to put that in here and after the meeting, if
Okay.
you don't mind.
Okay, and we can, if people are amenable, I still want to hear from some people. If people are amenable, we can ask Nick to tweak this a little, and then this can be distributed. And I'm not sure if we want to approve now or not. Let's continue the discussion. Phil, are you still online? Still on phone?
Yes.
I'm not sure. Rebecca?
Yep,
Yeah,
I'm still
great.
online.
Okay, so obviously you heard Nick read something, so you don't see the wording, but generally supportive or other comments?
I'm generally supportive. I think Ellen's comment about regionalism is really great. And I'm looking forward to seeing the next cutout.
Okay, Rebecca, what are you? Rebecca, can you hear me? Okay, Rebecca, we can't hear you. I don't know what exactly is going on, but you might have to retry joining or whatever. I have a couple of quick comments. One of them is Nick asked whether the roads and sidewalk bullet was redundant, necessary or not. I think even if it's slightly redundant, it's good for clarity. Because again, informing the public about what, they can weigh in on these kind of concerns with TAC. I think making the bike safety and connections a separate bullet than pedestrian safety and connections is a good idea, because it makes it much more concrete, and people can say, I'm concerned about bike safety and connections, I'm concerned about pedestrian, I'm concerned about both of those bullets. They're not exactly commensurate with each other, and sometimes have things in common and
Are
sometimes.
you suggesting they be broken out into two bullets?
Two bullets. I'm
Two.
suggesting just make two bullets, but they're very simple bullets, and
Yeah.
I think it increases clarity, and if people,
Okay,
I don't want to encourage people to necessarily join them. And this is my personal feeling, is that because they interact in a complicated way that's very location and usage dependent, also regulation dependent and infrastructure dependent, keeping them separate and then combining them as needed.
well, combining them gets covered by the bullet that talks about modes and how they work together.
Right, that's already, but this makes it very,
Right.
very clear to people. I think Ellen's comment about regional transport is really important. I don't like, with regard to establishing guidelines that clarify when a roadway situation is clearly unsafe or sufficiently safe, I think it's very dangerous to use. I know what you're saying, and I admire your willingness to put this, raise this question. I don't think we can make anything safe. We can make,
That's why I
sometimes if
said
we're lucky,
sufficiently
we
safe.
can make it safer, but sufficiently is a key word. But whether,
I'm open to a different word. I
Yeah.
think the point is, it's a largely subjective topic.
Yeah.
And there has to be some limit to how much we engage in a conversation about a specific situation.
to me, there's well, anyway, this is probably the most complicated bullet in the whole.
Right, it is.
The most complicated.
That's why I put it out
sentence in
there.
the entire thing. So I applaud you for putting it out there. So I'm gonna go around and ask people for more thoughts on that, but I want to first just say that I think that crossings of different traffic, whether it's automobiles and automobiles, or anything else, different modes is certainly one of the areas where this comes up the most. Our town engineer, Steve Dukron, memorably told me, Mark, I think every intersection needs to be designed. In other words, you know, we have this situation in town where we don't have intersection. Give me a cookie cutter, this intersection is same as that, is same as that, is same as that, right? We're not that kind of a situation, so guidelines can be pretty tricky. And guidelines could mean guidelines of like you're sort of tending here. What, you know, is it 100 residents complain, or that, God forbid, there's a fatality or serious accident? Guideline can be for prioritization in that way. Guideline can also be proactively following some kind of design guideline, but there are a lot of constraints. So it's hard to know where we should, where tax roll is. So I want to kind of go around the table. Rebecca, are you, Rebecca's connecting. Ellen, you had your hand up.
Yeah, no, I think that maybe it's something, I think maybe the Stan Tech folks might be able to help us on that point about guidelines, because it's basically criteria for establishing, you know, level of safety or something like that, and prioritization is maybe another word that needs to be put in there. But I think it is about, as Nick is saying, something that makes it not subjective, and guidelines also the public can review. I think that's important.
No, I think it's Rebecca trying to connect.
Oh, she's reconnecting.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the help.
I think this could be like kind of a whole topic.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
Yeah.
Maybe it should be a topic for a future meeting. I believe in
Yeah.
getting the long-term benefit, midterm benefit of getting this right outweighs any impacts from delay speed. Yes, speed kills, as they say. So speed is, yeah.
I mean, some language we could use in the meantime is maybe like raises substantial concern versus meets town standards.
This is like the definition of pornography. Right?
Well, yeah,
You know it when you see it, right?
Well, I think like tech needs to stay in our lane too, right? Like we don't wanna
Yes.
start taking any kind of responsibility.
Well, I suggest that we can leave this as it is for the moment and have this as a topic for a meeting, because I agree, it's a very important topic.
Agree.
We have to know how we're gonna have these conversations with the citizens when they come to us and say, my road is unsafe.
Well, does it make any sense to put in the draft this bullet requires further discussion or something?
I'm fine with that.
Is that okay? That we put, okay. Why
Well,
don't you-
can't we discuss this in the next meeting as to what it should look like on the website? But clearly it's something the public needs to understand and have input on, and feel confident that they agree with how we're, you know, defining, prioritizing situations to improve safety.
Well,
I'm gonna put a note on it that says something like under consideration or something like.
Yeah. Yes,
Wording under consideration.
okay, yeah, Andrew.
So two things. One, I wouldn't say that, I mean, safety is always considered when they redesign an intersection or a crossing. There's the right of way safety initiative. They look at that from the entire right of way. They are always looking at safety. I don't think it's this committee's responsibility to figure out safety standards. Those are there.
Right.
Also, in the whole development of this reporting system that we're gonna talk about more on the 28th, and also the entire redesign of the roads program because of all the extra funding we have now, they're thinking of hiring a part-time position, a traffic management specialist or the like, something like that, that's gonna look at this stuff. So this is gonna come out more as these meetings go on. The 28th is a big day for highlighting all this, but there is much more focus at the staff level on any design where they can improve safety. And certainly hearing from TAC and residents is gonna be important in that system. But those guidelines are there, they can be improved with your review and advisory suggestions. But that's not something you have to develop.
Right, right.
Okay.
Thank you. No, I think that's very important. So perhaps Rebecca, I'll get you in a second. Yeah.
Hi,
Oh, well, go ahead, Rebecca. Why don't you
yeah,
speak?
I'm so sorry. I've had so many technical challenges today, back and forth between video and phone.
Definitely something
So,
that happens.
yeah, so I'm glad that Nick dug into this. It is hard to respond to this, just seeing it for the first time now. So I look forward to having it in writing to be able to consider it a little better. I do
Great.
agree with the concern about diving into safe or unsafe and the wording of this. Just to bring it back, the idea for this really was to be a very clear outward facing statement about what it is that TAC does. And I just would advise caution on digging too much into weeds, that for someone who's new to the town, looks up what TAC does, may not make sense to them, or might be so technically specific that it's not needed. So yes, I would agree that that particular bullet is the one that I have the biggest question mark on, but I do thank Nick for diving in and adding more detail.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. So, yeah, I think I really appreciate Nick raising it. I think what Andrea said is very important. You know, it's kind of like working things from both ends. There's what safety guidelines and procedures, you know, already exist that we're not, TAC clearly is not, it's not our job to redo that. However, maybe this could be changed to be more public facing in
Well,
terms.
that's where the issue comes out, is the public facing.
Exactly. So is there could be a bullet that said, I mean, this is actually part of the question about what's going to be discussed with new process with the Public Works Commission, staff at Select Board. The TAC has a place on its webpage for citizens or anybody and anybody from out of town or in town to make suggestions or raise concerns. And what TAC does with those could be limited to compiling them and providing them to staff and Public Works, or reviewing them or whatever. So instead of guidelines, could review public concerns, inputs, whatever about.
What does review mean? Review against what criteria?
Well, that's a good question, but I mean, you know, does TAC, this is a really interesting question. Is TAC collecting and passing on, or is TAC doing any
I
type
can write
of?
a computer program that does that.
Yes, well, that's okay, yeah. That maybe that's what we need. I mean, Nick, since you wrote the book.
This is exactly the discussion I wanted, because I want to be clear, what does the select board expect us to do?
Exactly.
Okay, do we have any value to add here? And if we do, I don't know what it is. Maybe there is. And
Very.
Or are we just secretaries who collect the information and say, Public Works, have at it, go talk to Scantech.
Yeah, well, another angle, Paul, I'll get you in 1 second. Thanks for your patience. Just a minute, we good?
You're on, I think.
Oh, just a second. I don't know if that was you, Phil, but I'm gonna lose my train of thought. Just a second. Anyway, let's hear from Paul. Go ahead, Paul, please.
Yeah, let me start specific and get more general because we're talking about this bullet here. I would not dive too deeply into the specifics here, but I would say something like provide a leading role in assessing transportation safety. I would generalize that. I think transportation safety is really important. You don't know exactly what that's going to be, but establishing that the TAC is going to play a leading role in working with other entities on transportation safety, something like that. Elevated, make it a little softer and a little general. But I think talking about transportation safety and TAC's leading role in that, or an important role, stick your neck out and play a leading role, because I think that is important on that one. I think there are a lot of the introductory words. I think you think about them because you have supporting, establishing, advising, prioritizing. I make sure they're all kind of in alignment. For example, prioritizing transportation safety projects. I think you would assist in prioritizing those projects.
Yes, help
Okay.
to
Yeah,
prioritize.
little things like that. Developing. I'm not saying these are wrong, but I make sure you have the right introduction. But my question is, if you can mute the phone, somebody. Yeah, there you go. We use the words mission, purpose, charge, blah, blah, interchangeably. I think what you're doing here is revise and should be revising the charge. So this is revision to the charge. Now, the existing charge has 7 items on it right now. I think you're replacing those 7 items with these items. I just want to be if you look at those,
Yeah.
good. So this is revised charge. This is not a mission. I just want to make sure we're all aligned on the purpose here. And that's good. I think that's what you need to do. So these bullets are replacing the 7 other bullets, and I'm sure you've looked at the 7 other bullets to see which ones are relevant and which ones aren't. But I think, okay, as long as we're aligned on that, these are good. I don't have any. If you think the first bullet is redundant, Phil, fine. But I think it's very important that you establish that you are sort of the crossroads between other committees here, and if it wouldn't hurt to have a redundant bullet in the first one that establishes that you're sort of a cross-cutting body or integrating body, and but I think that first bullet establishes that. So yeah, that's what I got.
Thank you, Paul. Helping to prioritize or assisting prioritization, et cetera, is important. And thanks, Paul, because you actually reminded me of what I was going to say about the safety bullet, that instead of establishing guidelines or whatever, there's this spectrum between specific locations and between general policies or general needs or things that we do find in common. So perhaps thinking about overall something again along the lines of what Paul is saying, on a higher level of general safety policies and approaches or whatever, or common concerns. So things that we see this same concern many places in town.
So,
And Public Works is not going to be necessarily, Stantec might be, but Public Works is not necessarily going to be saying, we have 20 roads like this, let's look at all of them in tandem, whereas we might be thinking about that.
so this
Yeah, I think my point was planting your flag on transportation safety. As far as roadway safety, it's very much roadway specific, and guidelines or criteria in general are really tough. Sometimes it's line of sight, sometimes it's it's really difficult. So, but I would keep it general at this point. And my last comment is more a question. I don't quite understand the 3rd bullet. What's meant by advising on relationships and trade-off among transportation? Could you be even more specific? Could you reword that to be more specific? Because I don't understand
Sure.
what that means.
Let's see, so you've got the public roadways, and there's an interaction that happens there between bicycles and cars and trucks. So what do you do about that? Do you have guidelines that, you know, do you have painted stripes everywhere? Do you have separated lanes? You know, how do you deal as a community with the fact that you're gonna have this shared use of a public facility of the roadways?
So
And
is it more relationships than trade-offs? Because relationships
it's
relationships imply an existing sort of condition. Trade-offs
Yeah,
imply
maybe it's more.
a future
Yeah.
situation.
So do you think it should say more trade-offs and just delete the
Well, you could
relationships?
say, instead of relationship, you say interactions and trade-offs or
Okay.
trade-off. I don't know if that.
Well,
is
I'm saying
interactions.
interactions implies something actually in play right now. Trade-offs implies something in planning. You know, trade-offs is more strategic. You know, it's so maybe the two different thoughts. One is relationships and one is trade-offs and planning, but they're kind of different. One is present day and one is future, in my mind, anyway.
Good point. Well, I think because they're already on the roads doing things, you do have relationships that are happening right now, interrelationships.
Right.
You do have
Right.
trade-offs when it comes to designing how you want it to be in the future.
Well, you could say
So, yeah.
trade-offs among transportation modes and their interactions or their relationships.
So I think there are two bullets. One is
Okay,
current relationships and one is future trade-offs. I think they're different.
sure. That's a.
So you're talking about the interaction between laws and the users and the needs of the users?
It's not just the laws, it's the use of the road. It's what's allowed, or how do you paint the stripes, or do you paint stripes? How do you deal with the fact that you've got,
How do you share?
yeah, it's not just the law,
space,
it's much
yeah.
bigger than that. It's the social aspect of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's
Education.
another thing that TAC certainly could, you know, I don't see the word education here anyway, but maybe something about educating, assisting, you know, our education in public.
So maybe there's a whole other bullet about it.
There might be a bullet about, again, I mean, education can be, you know, these are the facts, or education can be, if you approach things differently, we can improve safety.
Okay, I'll create another bullet on education.
Yeah,
I'll put something
yeah,
in there.
same
It
thing.
sounds like we're gonna be coming back and going over.
We are going to be
a
coming
revised
back,
version
you know,
of this.
and like Rebecca says, we all need to look at something in writing and mull over. Rebecca, go ahead.
Thank you. I mean, to Paul's point about this now being a new version of the charge, I guess I'm wondering what that means for the outward facing mission statement, because is the implication then that this would not be used for the purpose or mission? And I just want to bring it back to at least where I started with this, was to have something very clear and outward facing, not too technically minded, sort of like the select board description that was nice and clear and concise for residents and for anyone who's not in the weeds to be able to understand. So is the implication then that we would have something different for the mission if this is then the charge?
I'm not sure what you mean by mission as opposed to the charge.
Well, the way it started is that that distinction was made in the last discussion when I presented my first draft, because the clarification was made in that discussion that what was on the website was the first few paragraphs of the much larger charge document. So the distinction was made in the last discussion between the two. So I'm picking up on that.
Okay, yeah, I think of a mission as being a statement of why you exist, which is basically what the charge is in this case. So maybe we just have a disagreement over words.
I suggest.
I would focus, the charge is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And you can extract pieces I would get too hung up on the website unto itself. I would extract things from the charge that can be a little bit more generalized as an introductory. But I think you're revising the charge, and it was probably my fault, because when I suggested that you change your mission, I was really suggesting looking at the elements of the charge. But
Well, sorry, Paul, that's helpful. So, but then in what you just said, the idea is that something might be simplified from where we land on the charge in order to have, for example, something that describes us on the public website.
right, nail this down and then extract from this what you think could be helpful for the
Mhm.
general statement on the
That's helpful.
webpage.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and let me just add to that a little bit about one option. The way I think about it is getting this working document to describe if you know what the select board and the public and staff can expect TAC to do or not do is very important. And the way, and you know, it can be used as a charge, formal charge document approved by whether town manager, select board, both, whatever, might need to have some additional wording talking about things like quorums and et cetera, appointments or terms or anything like that. And that doesn't need to be in the public facing simplified version. So, but that part is kind of boilerplate and easy. So I see two documents coming out of this one key document. One is simplified public facing and the other one is the formal charge. This is the core of the formal charge.
Just, yes, I just want to be clear, it's 11, and I want to be clear about the next step. So I'm gonna revise this. based on
Revise
this,
that based on what you've
And
heard.
then it will be circulated in
It'll be
advance.
circulated in advance.
Okay,
It'll
and
be, as
publicly
soon
posted.
as it's available, it'll be circulated in advance and publicly posted, I think.
Okay,
And I'm sorry, my last comment before I get off. Take a look at the existing 7 points in the charge, because and compare it to these, because I think there are some pieces in the 7 points that you can reuse. I wouldn't discard
check
that
that.
completely. Yeah.
Right, and if
Okay.
this is longer, it stays in the charge, and if things need to be dropped for a public facing one-page thing, then that's, so be it,
right.
I think.
Okay.
Okay, so Paul, do you have any further liaison comments?
I don't. I've said my piece. I think you're doing good work. I think the an important part yet to be determined is, you know, based on the work on the 28th, what the role of the TAC's going to be, and I'll call it the public facing entity about answering questions about the status of projects. That's not quite in the charge yet, but that's going to evolve, I think, from the whole group's efforts on the 28th.
Okay, so then I'm gonna move on to public comments. Please keep them brief. We're a little bit over time, but I'll entertain brief public comments. Would anyone like to make a public comment? Just unmute and identify yourself. Okay, so seeing no hands raised or nobody unmuting, I am going to adjourn this meeting of the Transportation Advisory Committee as we've completed the agenda. Thank you very much, everybody.